I'm starting to have my doubts with Jonathan Gannon after what he just pulled. Welcome, everybody, to JG9 News. We talk all things NFL all the time. I'm Jerry, and I'm representing the 904 from the 602. And today, we are talking about the Arizona Cardinals. This was a video that I wanted to put out about a week ago. I just didn't have the time to do it because I was in New York. I was on my regular location. But now that I'm back here, I'm caught up on some stuff, we can do this video. And I want to talk about the Cardinals roster cuts going from the 90-man roster to the 53-man roster and something that Jonathan Gannon decided to do as the head coach of the Cardinals. So I want to preface this by saying that even though I was not crazy about the Cardinals hiring Gannon after the 2022 season, I thought he was pretty solid as a first-year head coach. I thought he laid the groundwork for what could be the next era of Cardinals football. Obviously, the first half of the season, we all knew was going to be terrible with Kyler Murray out. But the second half, they played very, very well, all things considered. And yes, he did have some coaching gaps. There was that fourth down decision he made against Seattle. There was the onside kick against Philly, which I had no problem with whatsoever, but there were some people that hated on that move. But overall, I thought Jonathan Gannon did a fairly decent job as head coach of the Cardinals for the first year. Having said that, expectations for the Cardinals this year have plummeted and plummeted with each passing week. They did not look good in preseason. They did not look good in training camp. And Jonathan Gannon, after what he just did with the roster cuts, I'm not thrilled. I'm not thrilled whatsoever because Jonathan Gannon and the Arizona Cardinals decided to cut running back Michael Carter. It was a disgusting move to cut him. Now, I want to preface this by saying this. I have no problem cutting Carter. That is not the point. Football is a business, and of course, there are going to be tough cuts made. You have to go from 90 to 53 and cut down nearly half the roster. On top of that, I'm not sure necessarily where Michael Carter would have fit in at running back on this team on that depth chart. So I have no problem cutting Michael Carter. However, listen to what Jonathan Gannon said after the preseason game, the preseason finale against the Denver Broncos when he didn't play Michael Carter during that game. Take a look.
Michael Carter saw enough from what we needed to see for him.
Now, usually, the phrase, "we saw what we needed to see," implies that he's making the roster and that there's no point in playing him because he got his reps and his job is not in jeopardy. I don't know about you, but every time in preseason that I hear that phrase, it means the guy is safe. Every single time I see a guy not playing in preseason, it has nothing to do with injury, it means that he is safe. Never, not once, have I heard that phrase in connotation with the guy getting cut. They didn't play Michael Carter in the final game against the Broncos because they saw everything they needed to see, and then they proceeded to cut him. If you saw what you needed to see only to cut him, and you weren't going to play him before the final game, so you knew that he wasn't going to be factored into the game plan, then you owe it to him to cut him before the game so he can have a chance to catch on to some other team. This is common practice and common courtesy for coaches to do this and for teams to do this. Because at the end of the day, keeping Carter on the roster is only hurting you in the end. Why keep a guy on the roster on the 90 who you know is not going to make it and who is not playing? Now, obviously, you keep guys on the 90-man roster in preseason who won't make it for various reasons. As an example, you don't want to play your starting quarterback, so you have a fourth string option, but you know that fourth stringer is not making the team. You don't want to wear out your kicker's legs, so you have a second kicker, or same thing with a punter. You get the idea. But those guys play and serve a purpose in August. Those guys are playing in the game, and those guys are insurance options should someone go down. This serves you no purpose. You didn't dress Michael Carter. You didn't play Michael Carter because he wasn't going to make the team, but you saw everything you need to see. But if there was a player that got hurt, he wasn't dressed, so he wasn't going to get in the game. Good luck getting undrafted free agents to play for you and want to play for you if you're not going to give them tape and you're going to keep them on the roster when you have no intention of playing them or keeping them. Keep in mind, a lot of undrafted free agents try to make the roster, but a lot of them are realistic. They just want a shot, and they want to audition tape for other teams. If you're going to refuse to play players and then cut them, good luck getting guys. Good luck getting guys. I want to put it like this. Let's say I'm a teacher at a school, and there's going to be fewer people enrolled than usual at the school, so they're making cuts because they don't need 50 teachers, let's say, because the class sizes, or the class enrollment, I should say, is not that big. And to decide the cuts, they have every teacher on the fringe take an assessment. And they're going to make the decision on what to do in mid-August. Everything starts in July, let's say. You ask if you have to take the assessment, and they say, no, we've seen everything we needed to. Then they fire you at the end in mid-August, and now you're screwed because schools aren't likely to hire at this point because class is already in session. If your fate was decided that early, you rather would have known in July so you had time to go elsewhere. Same thing with Michael Carter. If he had known that he was going to get cut, rather have him get released so he could go elsewhere. It's especially true for a guy like Michael Carter, who was on the team last season. He was on the Cardinals last year. You had plenty of chances to evaluate him and give him reps and take a close look at him. You had about 9 months to look at the guy. To not release him before the Bronco game, if you weren't going to play him, thereby hurting his chances of signing elsewhere and catching on to another team, is wrong on so many levels. It is wrong. Jonathan Gannon did Michael Carter dirty by not playing the guy. Or maybe he thought that he was going to make the team. Maybe Jonathan Gannon thought that Michael Carter deserved to make the team, and the GM thought otherwise. And now you have a clear miscommunication between a head coach and a GM, and they're not on the same page. If the head coach thinks that a player is safe, and the GM is probably getting rid of him. As an example, let's say this was a situation where Gannon thought that he didn't need to play Carter because there was no way he was going to miss the team. They're going to keep 4 running backs, and he was going to win the 4th running back job over DJ Dallas, let's say, in the eyes of Gannon. But Monty at GM felt the opposite way. Like, did you not talk about this at all over the offseason? What the plan was for the guy who was on your team for the entire second half of last year? That's just so wrong on so many levels. There's either one of 2 things that happen here, and both bode very poorly for the Cardinals going forward. Number 1, and either way, it's a massive problem. The head coach held the player hostage by not playing him, knowing that he's going to cut him, and not giving him a chance to latch on to some other team like every other team does in this spot. Or the head coach didn't know the roster status of his own players, and he thought that Michael Carter was making the team, and he was not on the same page whatsoever with his general manager. In which case, that's also a problem. Either way, whether this was Gannon thinking that Carter was making the team and Monty had the other ideas, or Gannon knowing that he wasn't going to make the team, and he saw everything he needed to see, and he proceeded to cut him, either way, it's a massive problem, and it does not bode well for the Cardinals. They don't have a lot of expectations going into the year, and after this preseason, after this debacle with Jonathan Gannon and company, with Michael Carter, yeah, I don't have too much expectations for the Cards. Again, like I said before, I have no problem cutting Michael Carter. I am not saying that the Cardinals should have kept Michael Carter. What I am saying is that if you knew that you were not going to keep Michael Carter on the team, then you either owed it to him to play him and dress him and not say that we saw everything we need to see, or if you weren't going to do that, then you owed it to him to release him before the Bronco game so he could latch on somewhere else, because at the end of the day, you know who this only hurts in the long run? You. Because again, good luck getting undrafted free agents and guys on the fringe to come play for you. If you have a coach saying, oh, we're not going to play because you're on the team, we saw everything we need to see, and then boom, you don't make the team, and you don't have any tape, but now you're completely screwed. So good luck there. Good luck there, Coach Gannon. Good luck there, Cardinals. This could be a rough season for you guys. But what are your thoughts on what Jonathan Gannon did with Michael Carter? Do you think it was the right move to cut him? Do you think it was the right move to cut him like this? Do you think there was dysfunction with the Cardinals? What are your expectations for the Cardinals this year? Let me know all your thoughts on the Cardinals in the comments down below, and on Coach Gannon. Do you think he survives the second season? Again, let me know everything down below. And that is going to do for this episode of JG9 News. Be sure you like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check my main channel, JaguarGary9, where we talk all things NFL history all the time. Until next time, this is JaguarGary9 signing off. And as always, go Jags.